All right, good afternoon, everybody. Daniel Thomas here. Today is that. It's the 19th day of May, 2022. It is 2:13 in the afternoon. So I recorded a video earlier this morning talking about, percent gains in an account, and I showed you guys a futures account where I'd made a number of trades, and I was basically aiming for 20% profit per trade. And just, I kind of broke things down for you. So what this video is just a follow-up to that. Right now we're sitting at $3,483 or less now in the account. Profit is that on the day. I started with 150 bucks. I'll break all this down as a recap for those who didn't watch the earlier video in just a second. But I'm on my final trade of the day. I was going to try to take 20 trades today, but I'm burnt out, guys. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm on my 15th trade right now. The goal is 38.43, so it looks like I may not get there. We'll see. I'm going up right now. I'll break down all the trades in just a second. Let me actually scale in a little bit. Let me look at what's going on around other things. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit here. So just added 2 contracts. Just keep your eye on this here. This is the amount of contracts I have. This is the running P&Ls. This is the P&Ls on the day. These arrows on the chart indicate when I got in or out. So you can see I'm in there. The down arrow would mean that I got out. Right now my goal is 38.43, and I'll show you guys why. Again, for those of you who weren't with me for the earlier trade this morning, I'll show you guys why in just a second. I am a little bit scatterbrained, so forgive me for that. It's been a long day. Not only have I been trading in this account for the purpose of this video and for the purpose of what I kind of started this morning, but I've also been trading in multiple other accounts. So at some point, you start losing, I guess, acetylcholine or whatever neurotransmitter it is that kind of allows your brain to function at an efficient level. And one of the things I tell people all the time is that, at some point, regardless of what you think you see going on or know relative to the markets and price action, you're not in control anymore. It's like a person who's drinking and driving, right? You may be a NASCAR driver, but at some point, the alcohol is going to impair your ability to react and drive the way you would normally be able to do. And so as a day trader, that's what happens as time goes on, because you're making constant decisions, decision after decision after decision after decision. I often tell my wife and other people that 2 hours in the life of a day trader is about the equivalent of an 8 to 10 hour day for most people. And so I say that to say that I don't honestly know why I kind of brought that up, other than to say that I'm burnt out right now. Like, you may be able to even see it on my face. I wanted to get through 20 trades today, and I'll explain why in just a second. You may already know why if you watched the previous video. Let me blow this up a little bit, and I'll kind of go down this list here. Well, give me 1 second. I'm at 3702, and I need to get to 38.43. So if this number gets to 38.43, I'm going to hit the sell button and get out. I have 10 contracts. I'll probably jump out 8 right at that, and then see what happens with the last 2. Then I'm going to go through and break down all 15 trades I took. This last one was a little bit of a roller coaster. I think we're going up. I mean, I'm looking at Apple on a different screen. This looks like it's going to pivot up. It looks like we put in a low and a higher low. It looks like we're going to break through this. It looks like a little pennant in here, and we're going to get some action upward. I can see it going down. It's been a real red day for Apple, so maybe not. But Apple looks like it's probably going to do that. Microsoft, I don't know. Tesla, ambiguous. And the reason I bring up Microsoft, Apple, Tesla is because they're constituent elements of the S&P 500, which is what I'm trading, right? I'm trading the MES contract. It's a futures contract that follows the S&P 500. So just bear with me for a little bit. This is the last trade. I'm tempted to add a little bit in here. This looks like it could be forming a wedge in here. If it breaks up that way, that would be really good for me, because I can probably just scalp out and get to 38.43, which is the number I'm looking for. So right now I'm up 25 bucks. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the P&Ls, but my guess is in here $8, 8 times, probably up $400-500 more at that point. So if you were looking at it at the open P&Ls, I was probably up another $400 or $500 at that point. So let me move this off the screen, and so I can keep an eye on everything that's going on. Once I get a little bit of wiggle room here, I may scale in and just go a little bit bigger on this position. So I don't like the fact that Apple's kind of curling back, but I don't think that this is I think it's still a bullish chart. So I think that Apple is going to do that. I could be wrong though, right? And if I'm wrong, then maybe on my 15th trade today, maybe is the trade that I eventually ended up wrong today. So I think I can start talking about. I've got 10 contracts. Maybe I'll put this over here somewhere. Give me a second, guys. My brain is just like, okay, I remember what I was looking at. So I was looking at the upper end of this. I had a trade going, for the last hour or so, I guess, where I was basically going long at the bottom end of this and selling at the upper end of this. And then when we finally broke through that, I expect this to be supportive, right? It used to be resistive in here, and so I'm kind of expecting it to be supportive in here. So if it breaks down underneath that, that's going to suck, because we're going to fall right back down into this channel in here, and frankly, if it breaks the lower end of that channel, it's probably going to go down. So what I'm banking on this current trade that we're in, you can see everything that's going on, is that this is a bull flag in here. It could drop a little bit lower. I've seen it. This drop, for example, happened right before this real big run up, right? So they do program these algorithms to make it difficult, but we caught support, and so that it made sense from a technical perspective. So from a technical perspective, I'd like to see us stay here. Looking at other stocks, the VIX looks like it wants to try to curl up, but I think the VIX has more room to go down. This is the UVXY. It's a leveraged ETF that follows the VIX. This range in here, we got to the upper end of that. I think we can get to the lower end of that pretty easily. So we'll see. Here's the SPY, which is the S&P ETF. It's basically the same chart as the futures chart. Here's the futures chart. Here's the futures chart, ES. I'll go back to the S&P, or the SPY. It's an ETF that follows the S&P 500. They all follow the S&P 500, the SPY and the ES. I think this is a good trade, guys. So I think the best thing for me to do would be add in here. I don't want to get too big just in case it dumps, but I think we're okay. So I'll add another contract there. We're at 11 contracts now. Really, all I care about is getting to 38.43 on the P&Ls, and I think we're going to get one run right now that's going to get us there. Let me do something else. I'll turn on the TV. Yeah, you guys don't care about that. Maybe Bill. I'll turn on the TV in the background as long as there's no glitches on it, and just to so that you guys can see the video's being recorded live. Sometimes it's nice to see when somebody puts out a video talking about, oh, I made 1,000% gains in the stock market today. Sometimes it's nice to be able to vet that, right? And I'll go over my trades and show you guys those in a minute, but I'll just turn on CNBC in the background so you guys can see that as we go forward here. I think we're going to get a pop soon. So what are we going for? 38.43, and I'll break down exactly why. Once I'm out of this trade, I'll be good to go as far as breaking down all the trades on the day, recapping the day, and stuff like that. So just bear with me a little bit longer here, guys, and I'll give you guys what you want. Get out 6. Where are we at? 38.43. So the current goal is $640 in profit on this trade. So actually, I can just watch this too. 648 or 38.43. Either one of those is going to get me to where I want to go. I do think that this is set up as a flag. It looks like a nice pole pennant. I think it's going to run up. As a matter of fact, if it breaches this area, it's probably going to come up and test high of day, which would mean that I could technically probably make a couple $100 more on it with this position. But it's one of the things I'm going to talk about once I'm done here, is that's not necessary, and it's actually kind of stupid to do that sometimes. Where are we at? We're at 37. Yeah, give me one spike and I'll scalp a little bit out. Give me one spike. Come on. All right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scalp maybe I was going to take a little bit of profit, got some lag going on the TV there. If that TV ends up bogging down, here, I'll just go into CNBC or something. Give me 1 second. Let me do this. I'll go into CNBC, and I'll just bring over here. I'll just leave it on the screen here. Here's CNBC from today. We can go to Fox News instead, so you can see me type it in. Here's an article that was published, I don't know when, right here, 1:41 Eastern, on May 19th. Alright, so now that that's out the way, I don't know why my TV is lagging back there. Okay, so I was going to scalp a little bit of profit. I'm going to sit on my hands for a little bit longer here. I don't know. I think we're still good. I should have taken a little bit of profit just in case on the way up there, but I still think we're good. I don't know what the heck's going on with that TV. Yeah, I need to get out of the trade before I start breaking stuff down, because I'm burnt out right now, and that's what happens. I'm done trading except for this account for the sake of this video. So let me just tell you what happened. I'll talk through this morning and where we're at. And if you watched this morning's video, you already kind of know what's going on. I went in this morning to a $150 account. That's what this account was this morning. As a matter of fact, if you took this number and you subtracted it from that number, you'd see the difference is $150. So I started with a $150 balance in this futures account this morning. And I just, when I put out the earlier video, I was only up a few $100%. I think I may have grown it to like $500 or $600. But I was talking about the notion that, the math will enable you to make, 20% per trade, for example, right? Or 20% per day, for example. And that the 20% per trade or per day, for most of us, because most of us aren't trading multi-million-dollar accounts, the 20% is doable. There's enough liquidity in the markets to go in and take 20%. For example, if you're trading in a 10% or a $10,000 account, there is enough money flowing through the markets for you to go in and make $2,000, which would be 20%. If you're trading in a $100,000 account, there is plenty of money for you to go in and make $20,000, which is 20%. And so what I did, I don't know what is going on with that TV. What I did earlier is I showed a calculation, and that if you made 20%, on a compounding type basis. So in other words, if you started with $150 like I did, and you made 20% every time you took a trade for some number of repetitions, you'd get to some interesting numbers. And so you can see we're at $3,000 starting with 150. I've had 14 trades in a row right now that were profitable trades. We may be going the wrong way here, and I'll show you. I'll break down a calculator, right? And I'll show you that $150 times 20%, right? Times 20%, which is what that means. If you did that for 14 trades in a row, right, or 14 days in a row, your balance at the end of those 14 trades would be $1,925. Well, I've made more than 20% on a few of my trades. I'll show you guys the trades in a second. I've been jotting them down all day, and then I'll go into the brokerage statement so you can see the trades back there too. And so you can see that I'm well above the 1900 that you would expect. As a matter of fact, if you had $150 starting balance and you made 20%, and this is kind of the inspiration for doing this, you made 20%, you did that 20 times, your balance would be $5,750. And so that's kind of what I was thinking after I let you guys go from the earlier video. I said, you know what, maybe I'll just take 20 trades today and get to 5,750. I don't know that I have enough mental fortitude to stick through another 5 trades. The 14 trades that I've taken so far, to include this 15th trade, I've been right 14 times in a row, so that's a good thing. Maybe on this 15th one I'll be wrong, but it's drained me. It's taken a lot of energy, which I've kind of alluded to. So you know, we're just going to have to just deal with 15, right? So 15 trades times 1.20, right? So 150 times 1.20, and if we did that 15 times, it would be 2,311. And I'm actually, I think I just did this. See, that's how you know that my brain is bogged down. I'm actually above that right now. So what I'm waiting for right now is for us to finish out this final trade, and I'll just show you guys this now. And then I'll break down every trade I took, because there's a lot of arrows on the screen and stuff, and it'd be easier if you could see what the actual trades were and what the thoughts were. And so I'll do that in a minute. We're trying to get to 38.43, so let me blow up the camera a little bit bigger here. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, guys, use your 2x button to speed things up. I often ramble a lot in my videos, but so you can see here, if you go all the way down to the very beginning of today, let me go shut this window because it's real bright in here. Give me a second, guys. Real bright sun out today. There we go. You can see the date right there on the TV. Actually, it says Thursday, May 19th at 2:29. And then for some reason I hit the arrow button and it doesn't work. Anyways, that doesn't matter. So so here's the trades on the day so far. So I started with $150, and you can see that every time I made money. So here I made the first trade, I made $34. I just added that 34 to 150 to get 184. And then I said, okay, well, what's 20% of 184? And the answer was 69. Or no, excuse me, the answer was 36. So I said, okay, well, you know, I got to make 36. Well, I made 69 that next trade. So I added 69 to 253. And so even though I made more on a few of the trades today than 20%, I would still take whatever that new balance is and go up by 20% for my next goal. And so you can see down here on the 14th trade, I was at the 13th trade, I guess. I made I can't really see it there, but I think you guys may be able to see that. If not, I made 538 on the 14th trade, which brought my balance to 3203. And so my goal, 20% of 3203 is 640, right? And then, you know, the total balance, 3203 plus that 20%, is 3843. So I'm trying to get to 3843, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It would be the 15th trade. And so
NURO, Neurometrics, spiking to the high, $5.05.
Give me a second. I was trading this earlier. I knew that was going to happen, man. I was trading this earlier and I jumped out. Gosh darn it. Oh man. Okay, no big deal. Let's go back to this and finish out this video. Let me shut down the Benzinga guy, because what's going to end up happening here is I'm going to end up getting sucked in. Shout out to my guys over at Bear Bull Traders. When you become a member with them, they give you access to Benzinga, right? Benzinga Squawk. Very, very cool feature. Live, you know, active trading feature. I'm a member with Bear Bull Traders. What's up, Andrew? If you're watching, very, very good chat room. Anytime anybody asks me, you know, where should they go to maybe learn or watch traders trade, I kind of refer them over there. I don't get any kickbacks or anything like that. So, anyways, well, let me put that back. So we're trying to get to 38.43. Once I get there, I promise you guys I'll break down all 15 trades I took. If you watched the earlier video today, you probably already saw you know, a lot of that. We're right at it. Let me do this. Let me sell some here. I was going to sell some right there because we're at the upper end of a little micro channel in here, and so I figured I could sell some here and then buy them back in here, which would just let me make this money twice, right? Instead of just once. And then if it goes down, right, so you can see it better here. Here's the upper end, here's the lower end. If I buy here and sell here, right, and then it comes back down, I can buy back again and sell here again, right? You get to make the money twice instead of once. So I was going to sell some there, but I didn't push the button fast enough because I'm talking. So I mean that's the way it goes. So no big deal. And then the problem is if it breaks down underneath here, underneath this supportive area, well then I don't know, maybe we have a bear flag and we're actually going to head down. And I don't know, I'd probably average into it because I'm pretty confident we're going to get a nice pop up, but at the same time, there's no guarantees, and so probably would have been better just to take some profit there. So let's just stick with this trade for a little bit here. Up 41 bucks. And let me, while it's down here, I'm going to move this off the screen because I'm not used to it being there. And so I'll kind of keep an eye on it. And then once we're there, once I'm at that number, 38.43, then, well, let me just bring it over because here we go again. All right, I think I'm gonna make me smaller too. Now that we've seen everything we need to see with me, for order for 38.15 to 20. I think 38. I think 20 would. I think here this 38.20 area would do it. I think that would get me to the number I need to get to. Apple looks like it's putting in a cup with handle, which is probably going to drag the S&P up. It's a little micro cup with handle in here. This looks like a handle trying to go in. We'll see. We're not at the 200 moving average. This is a 1 minute chart yet, so that's good. VWAP is way up here, so there is quite a bit of room to go up on Apple, which would drag everything up. Here's Microsoft. I know you can't see the ticker back there, but this one was Apple, all right, and this one's Microsoft. That's a bullish pattern unless it breaks down, right? So you got this nice upward trend in here. If it breaks down, then it's not bullish, but it looks right now it's a bullish pattern because it's on the back end of a move up. So you would expect this thing to kind of do that on a second leg. Tesla, they're all the same right now. Tesla's very similar pattern, and so on. So let me bring this back over. I might try to sell 6 of these here to get back down to 5 contracts, and then or to get down to 5 contracts, and then we'll go from there. So just bear with me. If the only thing I don't like that I'm seeing right now is the VIX is putting in higher lows. So here's a low and a higher low on the VIX. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. This could be a dud, this last trade. I think it's a good trade though, so we'll stick with it a little bit longer in here, and maybe add in and just try to get it in one big scalp. I mean, if I went with 30 contracts right now, I could probably, I definitely, if I went with 30 contracts, I'd definitely be able to get out right there for the profit I'm looking for. So yeah, I mean that would clearly would be enough. Let's see what happens here, and then once we're there, I'll break down all the trades, guys. And so the purpose of this today was to show you it could be done. I didn't initially plan on going this far with it, but I said, you know what, I'm here. I may as well. What I'm trying to get to, 38.43. I may as well finish the day out instead of just doing half day on it. So let's just wait a little bit longer here. I don't see anything else worth pointing out at the moment. Yeah, the VIX looks like it's getting ready to break down. That's good. Let's see if it loses this trend here. It's probably going to spike at least to low of day, and that might be enough to get me there. Come on, just give me one little spike. I'll scalp, and then if you dip down again, we'll re-enter. One little spike. There you go. There you go. Go, go, go. One, go, go, go. All right, I'm going to take some there. So I took 5 contracts off there. You can see the arrow right here. A little bit lower. I would have rather got out on these wicks up here. So we're at 36.43. I got 5. So I need 200. Oh, there's the spike that I wanted. Now I'm wondering if I should. And Apple just broke up. So we're going to get there. We're going to get there for sure. I just don't know if I have enough contracts now. That's okay. I think we're going to get to 38.43. I should honestly try to play the breakout, but we're in this trade, which is one of the trades I'm going to break down. So give me let me. I don't want to add to it. Let's just hope that we have enough contracts. There we go. Should have waited just a little bit longer. We're at 37.30. We need $100 more, and I think we're close. 37.80. Oh man, I might have to get out here. I don't know if it's going to be enough, guys. That might be the end of the road right there. Oh, that's a big spike. One more. Oh man, I was like 40 bucks off. 38, 33. Come on.
Order filled.
No, I was $3 short. Oh, you son of a dirty dog. Let me get this $3 real quick, guys. This will be a 16th trade. I want to stay within the same trade. Gosh, I knew I should just $3 off. I can't go out like that, guys. I got to get 20%. I got to get the 20%. So we're going to call this the same trade. We're just going to scout. I don't even need 2 contracts. All I need is 1. And then we'll just right there. I mean, anything in here will give me this trade here, for example. If it dips back down, it looks like it's going to go up. Will get me there. And if not, then I'll get my 38.43. I'm not going to quit until I get to 38.43. There we go. $5 is all I need, guys. So I can just bump this up to there, and that's going to be 5. Actually,
order filled.
There we go. 38.44. All right, done. Okay. So let me go ahead and jot down on my little thing here. I made $1 extra. Now I kind of cheated a little bit. I made 641, and the balance is 38.44. I cheated because that was like technically a 16th trade, but I think you guys got the gist. So I'm going to show you guys this, and then I'll show you guys the trades, and then we'll kind of go from there, guys. So there's the beginning of the day, right? So, we started off with, 150. Just go down the list there. 150 made 34, 184 made 69, and so on. And so that last trade, I just wrote it down right now. From 32.03, we got to 38.43, 38.44 actually. So I'm done. I'm burnt out. I could probably the next trade for 20% would be 10% would be 380, and so 20% would be $760 would be 20%. I could probably do that pretty easily because if I took 10 contracts, for example, and went short. If I took 10 contracts right now and went short, just say right here, 10 contracts from 318 to 08 is $500, so that would be $500. And then if I did 20, it'd be 1,000, right? So I just have to take like 15 contracts, and I could do that really quick. But I'm burnt out, guys. So I don't think I'm gonna trade any more in this account today. I wanted to just get this one on video for you guys. So let me make me smaller, and then I'll show you guys every trade that I took, and then hopefully you guys can combine this video with the video from earlier this morning and take some sort of inspiration away from it, or an understanding, or at least an appreciation that you can. Maybe I will go for that 16th trade. You can't. It looks like it's coming right back down to here, guys. At least, which would be, $1,000 per 10 contracts. I can make another couple thousand on that really easily. Okay, so let me do a couple things first. Man, that's gonna try to suck me back in. It's one of the things, like, I'm not thinking rationally right now because I'm burnt out. So let me go into my account, and I'll show you guys the cash history on the account. We'll go today. So we started with $150, right? You can see it was deposited at 6:46 this morning, and you'll see why I missed the first trade I wanted this morning because of that. But $150, and if I scroll down this cash balance thing, right, all the way down, and since I'm not in a position, it will reflect the actual current balance. All the way down, you can see the current balance on the account is $3,844. All right, which is what this should say, $3,844.60. One other thing real quick. This could just be a consolidation channel in here, so it could just keep bouncing around in here, and frankly it could break up, right? It could break up. So just to say that really quick. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to put trade lines on the screen because I think one of the trades I took today, I think they gave me negative credit for, yeah. So I'm not perfect according to them, but this trade, you'll see in here, this was basically just one. I think there was 2 trades in here. I think this was basically one trade, and then this was another trade for me. But they gave me, if you look close enough, you can see that, you know, all these are green lines. These are all profitable trades. If you look close enough, right here, you can see a red line. You can see a red line, which means that they took this entry, and when I got out right there, they called that a loss. So for me, this entry was just part of this trade, right, going up. But they called it a loss. So when I go into this area in here where you can look at your performance, we'll go to today. You'll see that I'm not 100% accurate. So according to TradeOvate, which is the brokerage I'm using, I had a total of 74 trades, and I was right on 72 of them. Now for me, I took 15 trades, right, and I was right on 15. So I took 15 trades, and I was right on 15 of them. But that's okay. You know, it doesn't matter how what matters is the way you're calculating. One other thing, real quick, just to point this out really quick. What was I going to say? Commissions. So I've paid $77 in commissions and fees. So when I'm looking at the profits on the day, that's being included. I'm part of the well, it doesn't matter. I get reduced commissions with them because I paid for like some subscription or something. But I am paying $77.90 today in commissions and fees. So if I scroll down here, if you wanted to vet, you know, I don't know why the TV turned off, but if you wanted to vet and you didn't, you know, look at the article or what have you, or didn't, there we go. Then you could just look at the trades, right? So at 7:14 in the morning, I took my first trade, and what I'll do is I'll scroll that way, and it will show all of the trades on the day. So if you wanted to kind of go in and say, okay, if you wanted to, hey, you're welcome to do whatever you want. But so I scroll down here. So I'm scrolling down the trades, right? So you can see every single trade. I'll do this so it's a little bit slower. This little bar here, I think. Nope. It's inside, so I can't. I'll go back to the top and go back down again. One more time for you guys. So just scrolling down so you can see all the trades. It's breaking up. I don't know if you guys can see that behind there, but it's breaking back up. So I'm scrolling all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. In the last trade I took, right here, this is funny, right? I took one contract and I held it for a total of 25 seconds, and I made $5 on it, right? So there's that, right? I think that's hold time. Yeah, so duration. So you can see right here, so it shows how the duration of how long you were in the trade. So anyways, if I close this out, here's the back on the charts. I'll break down every trade that I took. So again, we're looking at this. I'm looking at this a little differently than the brokerage system is, but you know, I'm the one making the trade, so I can tell you what my trade was. This first trade here, this is just a recap from the earlier video, so you've probably seen half of these trades already, but that was the first trade. I actually wanted to get in right there, but the money hadn't cleared yet. So that was trade number one. The red was trade number one. Trade number two, and I was going up. Trade number two, I was going down. I shorted here. I actually had a goal of getting out here, but let me blow this up a little bit for you guys. Oh, I guess I can't go that way. I can't blow it up. Actually, I can blow it up. Give me a second. I'll make it bigger. There we go. And then I think, there we go. So trade number, yeah, that was trade number one. And then you know what I'll also do is I'll go out and we'll look at all of this on the dash charts too. So you can see, you know, these are the charts I look at, Dash Trader Pro. I'm used to them, but since the arrows are on the screen here, it's just easier to recap it this way. So trade number one, right? Trade number two, I was short here. I covered in here, so I was basically, you know, covering. So I would go short, cover, short, cover, short. And really the goal was to go down here with it, but I had to go to the bus stop. I had to take one of my kids to the bus stop, so I got all out there. So that was trade number 2. Trade number 3, I figured this area down here would be supportive, so I decided to go long. Trade number 3 was a very short trade, so it was just this right here. It was this little trade right here. Trade number 4 was I noticed that we were putting in a flag here. So, because at this point I wasn't sure, I just made 20%. I didn't know what the heck was going on. All I knew is we were getting support here. So I got out with a 20% gain there. Trade number 4, right? Trade number 4. I saw a flag forming in here, so I started going long, and then I got out for 20%. In there. Trade number 5, this is resistance in here, so it made sense to short it there for a scalp. I ended up making 20% there. Trade number 6 was live on the earlier video. From there to there, it was a 20% gain. Trade number 7 was also live. It was from here. Those were my entries. There was my exit. That was trade number 7. Trade number 8 was a short here. I don't know if this one was on video or not. I got out there. That was trade number 8. Trade number 9, I realized that we were in an uptrend on the day. So what I did is I started scaling in where these 200 moving averages are. So this was basically what I thought would be the base of this. We had a false break here, obviously, but I started scaling in down here. And so I did the same thing, what you just saw me do, where I'd scale in, get out, scale back in, get out, scale back in, get out, and so on. And so I held on to this trade for a while, right, onto this, and I decided at some point that it looked to me that, are we going to break the bottom end or the upper end? And it looked to me like we were going to break the upper end, right? So I decided at this point to go in and take the next trade. And I believe that would be trade number 10. And you can see I got out some here, and I got out some more here on the way up. And then it was just an obvious micro double top up here, guys. It just was. I mean, it was at this point. Look at this, guys. So I for sure would have been up, on that. It's definitely up. That's a real big. Hopefully I'm not. Okay, I was gonna say hopefully I'm not still short on this. So at this point I went short, right? And it wasn't an obvious double top yet. It was just an obvious overextension, right? So we went up so quick and so fast that it was obvious that you could short in here and scalp, out for some profits. But once it came up and put in the second top, it was obviously a double top, right? Obviously a double top. And so I think, yeah, right there you can see that was the double top. So I added some in here. And I scalped there for, over 20%. Every trade I took today was over 20% in profits. This is where things got interesting. I kind of told myself, I guess this is like trade 11 or 12. I can't remember what number we're on. But I told myself that I was playing this long from the 200s or VWAP. I figured we'd get a bullish move up, to there, for example, maybe higher. And so I told myself I'd go long again, and I was really aiming for this up here, which is where we're at right now. That's where this red dot is, where the red line here is where we're at right now. So this red line. So I was aiming for that, right? But what happens later in the day is, and this was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's the clock. So it's like 1 o'clock, 12:45, 1, is you have this period of chop between, noon and 2-ish, where, well, you can see clearly on this chart here is about from 12:30 to 2 today. You get real choppy, right? And so it honestly is difficult to make money sometimes during that period. And so a lot of times it's just better to go away and take a lunch break or just to call it a day. But I had decided at this point that, hey, let me get to 20 trades, right? Because if I get to 20 trades, I'll be at like $5,000 from 150. And so I was like, you know what? I kind of mentioned that in the first video, so let's do it. And so I got, a lot of chop in here. So basically the trade ended up being, it started showing a real obvious bottom in here. You can kind of see an inverse head and shoulders in here. This is just a shakeout, guys. Really the math would probably put it here, and you can see that you got some stop rates in there. It really just became one of those things where This was I think I called this one trade in here. So all of this was one trade, and then I at some point I wanted to reset my mind and say, you know what, I need to reset my mind, take my 20%. So I did. I took my 20% here, I guess, and actually it was here. Excuse me. So you can see these lines over here. So you can see these lines. I just decided to take my 20% and call it a day at that point. And as soon as I did that, I noticed that it looked like a micro bull flag was going in here. So we had put in consistent resistance at this area under VWAP. This green line is VWAP. And so I said, you know, I'm going to just take my 20%, call it a day. And as soon as I did that, it broke up. So you had, I'll erase this so you can see the pattern here. But you had a nice bull flag set up right there. And so I decided, okay, well, if it's going to be a flag, it's probably going to be two. So I decided to jump in here, right? To write it to here, but really at this point, I'm thinking it's going to start working its way up, right? So I kind of got sucked into this long, drawn out channel type trade again. You know, again, I was playing the bull flag. But what ended up happening is I got sucked into this channel, right? So effectively, I was buying low, selling high, buying low, selling high, buying low, selling high, buying low, and then selling on the way up. And then I think this is where so we're on like trade number 14 or 15 now. I think this is somewhere when I brought you actually, I don't even think you guys were here yet. So I played the breakout. So I guess we're on trade 13, I guess. So I held for the breakout on these, sold on the way up, and then obviously when you're overextended, you got some pretty symmetrical moves in here. It just became an obvious short, so I shorted some here. I'm guessing that if you went back that way, there's probably some overhead resistance in there. A little bit higher, so I'm not sure. Maybe I saw some on a different chart. Looks, yeah, you got some in here, and so that's probably why I did it. Plus the fact that you had a symmetry, right? You had your two you had a little bit of consolidation here and another move, and then that's a very, very big move. So of course you're going to pull back some. So if the move is this, you know, of course you're going to pull back a little bit, and I don't need it to pull all the way back to here. I just need a 20% move, right? Or 20%, you know, profit. And so that's what that was. It was me just scalping profit on the way back down. And really, I think this is when I brought you guys in. The upper end of what used to be that channel, it really, in my mind, became support. So that if I extended this out, now this is support down here, right? And so really, it just became another, you know, so I shorted here, and I covered on the way down, right? I think I shorted a little bit more there just to add into it and cover it on the way down. And then the next trade, right, in the 14th trade or whatever, where I'm going long in here, selling here, long in here. You can see all the lines, and then selling up towards the top of this. And I think, was that it? Yeah, that was the trade that you guys saw. So that was the 15th trade, right? So the 15th trade was basically me playing long from here to the upper end of this, right, for that last 20%. And then if we want to be literal, right, there was a 16th trade where I went short right there and covered right there for $5. And so that's where we're at, guys. Stuff, as I've said many times in the past, I know this video is long, but hopefully somebody's getting something out of it. I've said it a million times in the past. This stuff is not rocket science, guys. The math is there. You know, you can go, clearly, you can go, I mean, I made $3,772 today, and if you subtract it from that, the difference is $150 minus commissions, right? So if you take, well, I'll just do it on the calculator for you guys. I mean, I don't need to prove this to you guys because you guys have already seen it, but just to see it and hopefully it'll be inspiring again, right? So you look at the math here, 3844, right? 3844 minus 3772, 3772, and you have $72. And then if you went into, so remember that there's a 70, this would imply that I started with $72, right? But again, if you go into the account and go into the performance, you can see that I paid, I'm guessing about $80 in commissions because, yeah, so $77.90 in commissions and fees. So anyways, guys, at the end of the day, this stuff is not rocket science. It's not. What makes it difficult is you, the person in the mirror. You saw I kind of got screwed up a little bit on that last trade because I didn't quite make 20%, right? And so I took a chance, right? And so imagine if you saw something like that. And you know, this is the way things happen. You guys know because you've been through it. But let's imagine, you know, in here, right, you think, you know, this is a bull flag and it's going to keep going up, right? And so it doesn't. It breaks down. So you jumped in long here because you weren't happy with the trade you made back there in the day. So you jump in here for the bull flag, right? And then you think it's going to go up because you can't stop trading on the day. You're burnt out like I am right now. And what ends up happening? Well, what ends up happening is you don't get your bull flag, you don't get your continuation, you actually got a dump here. And so it dumps, and now you're pissed off, you jump out for $1,000 loss or whatever, right? And then what happens? Well, you can see what happens. This happens. And so now you're like, damn it, you know, had I stayed in the trade, you know, instead of getting out and losing this much, you know, I was in here, I would have actually made that much, right? I would have made that much. Furthermore, if I would have just trusted the fact that I thought this was going up, I could have averaged down, is what a lot of people do. And not only would I have made, you know, this much, but I would have made this much, right? And it's all woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff, right? At the end of the day, that's your psychology messing with you. I'll say this. What I can promise you is that a computer, if this is a bull flag for you, right, and you said computer, and you pushed the button on a computer that said buy here, right, push the stop button if it breaks down underneath here, right, and then if it doesn't break down underneath there, push the sell button up there wherever your profit target is. The computer is going to hit the stop button, and they're not going to have any regret, right? The computer's not going to have any regret. So they're just going to play whatever algorithm is programmed. When I say they, I mean the machine, the computer, and the emotions are not in it. And that's why casinos, right, are able to make money, because there's a slot machine just goes off algorithms, right? The game of craps just goes off algorithms, right? And risk reward parameters set to those algorithms. Everything is an algorithm. Everything in life is an algorithm, right? If you can see statistically valid stuff, right, where you can anticipate a move up or a move down based on statistically relevant expectations, and you can apply a risk-reward ratio to those expectations, then you can extract money from the market. Maybe you're not, you know, fortunate enough to be right on 15 trades in a row. You know, I'd have a loss in there somewhere, but today I had 15 trades in a row. Honestly, I kind of was being a little bit more careful with those because I figured, you know, I want to try to show that it's possible, but you don't have to have 15 trades in a row. I mean, I could lose right now. I could lose 10% of this, which is $370, and then make 20% for the next 5 trades in a row and be at $10,000 or whatever that number is. So I really hope I kind of just end with that, guys. I wanted to finish out the day, give you guys another video, talk about or you know, kind of just finish up. Guys, at the end of the day, this stuff is not rocket science. It's just not. I genuinely hope, you know, for those of you out there who are trying to persevere through some of the psychological conundrums you're facing as traders, I really hope that some of the stuff that hopefully I touched on in this video resonates. I really hope it does. You know, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. It's not easy, but neither is anything else worth anything in life. If you want to be, you know, one of the fastest athletes in the mile in the world, you're going to have failures along the way. You're going to lose a couple races. You're going to have setbacks. You know, there's growth in failure. There's growth in failure, and in order to grow, sometimes you need to fail, and in order to keep going, you need to fail, right? And so, but at the end of the day, it's doable if you're willing to put in the work and the dedication necessary to get there. If you're struggling with real money, turn the real money button off, right? Go into a simulator. You know, most of these brokerages actually, this futures brokerage comes with a simulator. Dash Trader Pro comes with a simulator. CMEG comes with a simulator. TD Ameritrade they all come with simulators. There's simulators in all of them. If you're uncomfortable making, or you're losing real money, then go into a simulator until you can prove that you can be consistent. And treat the simulator like it's real money. Don't fudge it, right? Don't do what I did today, right? Instead of jumping in something like this where you're, you know, let's say you're like here, for example, right? Well, let me show you guys a short trade. Here's a really good example. So when I shorted this in here, I jumped out that for 20%. I mean, I clearly could have made more money. It gave you 2 moves down. I mean, I clearly could have made more money on this, right? I mean, I could have held all the way to here, right, and made 200% more on that. So this was 20%. This would have been about 40%. This would have been about 60%, right? So instead of doing that, right, in a simulator, trade the way you plan on trading with real money, right? And so don't go in and lose. Don't trade for real in a simulator and lose $500 and then go in and take a 10,000 share position that's unrealistic and then offset your $500. Look at your $500 loss and embrace it and say, okay, I traded in sim today and I lost $500. What did I do wrong? And if it's the technicals, guys, that's easy. The technicals are easy, guys. Just watch a few of my videos. Go read somebody's book. You can learn the technicals. If it's the emotional side of things, you're gonna have to work on you. You're gonna have to have an eye-to-eye meeting, with yourself in the mirror and figure out what the hell's going on. If you want to run a marathon and you have on your calendar tomorrow, on Friday, May 20th, to go run 3 miles because you're in preparation for a marathon, and you decide tomorrow to not go run 3 miles because you didn't get enough sleep tonight, or because you got in an argument with your husband, or because your stomach hurts, you got bubbly guts, whatever the hell your excuse is, your goals and aspirations for whatever it is you've planned out, you're already failing, right? If you're a 18-year-old kid playing high school basketball, and you're like, you know what, I want to make it to the NBA. So when I go to this college and play on scholarship, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and do plyometrics and lift weights. And then when you get to college, you're more interested in chicks and stuff than you are 5 o'clock workouts. You're not going to make it. You're hurting your own chances at the NBA. If you want to make money in business and you're like, here's my plan, and let's say that you're going to put 50% of your profits back into research and development, right? So you make $10,000 a month. Well, if you see this extra $5,000 and you're like, you know what, I feel like partying tonight and going to the club or whatever, and you're blowing your money on the club or partying or whatever instead of research and development, well, your business isn't going to grow the way you thought it would grow. And so the reason that 95% of people fail, not just in trading but everything in life, is because 95% of people can't get out of their own way, right? The long story, the short version of it is get out of your own way, right? Understand and appreciate that the reason you're not meeting your goals in your marathon, your basketball, your chemistry course, your business, your relationship, whatever, is because you're failing on a psychological level, and you're not failing anybody but yourself. You're failing you, right? And so if you really want to be the 5% that succeed, that make it to the NBA, or that have that life you really yearn to have, then you've got to be in control. And it's easier said than done, trust me, I know from experience, but the answer is you've got to be in control. So even though I'm not always in control and I don't always lead by example, the answer is you've got to be in control. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Nice gains on the day. Let's do one calculation to see how much money we made today. So as far as the math goes, so we'll look at this, and then I'll just make this the title of the video. So we made $3,772. You divide that by 150, and that is a 2,500% gain. Yeah, 2,500% gain in one day, guys. If I can make 2,500% on a $150 account in one day, you can make 10% or 20% on a $50,000 account in a day, or in a trade, or whatever. So hopefully you guys got something out of it. Drop your comments below. As always, stay humble, stay green. I'll talk to you guys later.